Pokemon is a game with a enjoyable but repetitive formula. You get 8 badges and fight a villain while all your Pokemon progressively get stronger. It's fun and engaging gameplay, and it keeps me coming back to the series knowing that I will always be getting that same general experience. The downside of this sort of game design is that Pokemon can come off as monotonous. A solution to this problem is for the developers to put in little diamonds of extra content that take us away from the regular battling and level progression. Some of these bits of extra content fall flat on their face, like the soot sack mechanic I talked about in a previous video. Most of the time, the developers nail these extra mechanics. Gens 3 and 4 in particular have excellent pieces of side content like Pokemon contests, the Pokeathlon, the Underground, and of course, the Battle Frontier. But there's one piece of side content that is not as large as those others I mentioned earlier, but stands tall in my heart as an excellent piece of world building and gameplay. I am talking, of course, about the Bug Catching Contest. Are you enjoying the Game Cubicle? If you like what I do and want to see me do more of it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Maybe if you leave me a good video idea, I'll do it and give you a little shout out. Also, make sure to check out Game Cubicle Live, where I post edited highlights of my live streams. Okay, back to the content. The Bug Catching Contest works like this. At the National Park area in the Johto region, one can speak to the guard on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays to enter the Bug Catching Contest. Once you enter, you are told you can only use one Pokemon to enter the contest. Then, once you decide on your Pokemon, you go out into National Park to catch some bugs. What is fun about the Bug Catching Contest is that the Pokemon you catch for the contest can actually become a team member, and there's really a good amount of bugs here to choose from. Before getting the National Pokedex, the bug selection is the Caterpie and Weedle line, Paras, Venonat, Pinsir, and Scyther. It's a little late in the game for the Caterpie and Weedle line to be too useful, and you also had access to these Pokemon earlier. Paras in particular gets access to Spore. Pinsir is an all-around okay encounter. Sure, it's not going to carry your team against Lance, but at this point in the game it's pretty tough, and it's a pretty cool rare encounter for collectors. Scyther is definitely the prize of the contest. Its evolution only has a weakness to fire, and it's got good stats, moves, and abilities. The Bug Catching Contest is also the only way to get Scyther and Pinsir. Locking these Pokemon behind this mechanic encourages the player to engage with it. If we are counting all bugs up to Gen 2, the Bug Catching Contest is missing Ledyba, Spinarak, Pineco, Yanma, Heracross, and Shuckle. I don't get why Ledyba and Spinarak were left out of the contest. Maybe it's because they were version exclusive and the contest is kept the same between versions. Pineco and Heracross were probably left out because they are headbutt Pokemon and are meant to be prizes to be obtained using that game mechanic. And even though Shuckle is a bug, I do understand why it's not in the contest. Shuckle is just a different kind of bug, you know? The one Pokemon I don't get for not being in the contest is Yanma. Yanma is a wild outbreak Pokemon, but there's plenty of others. I don't think Yanma would be missed if it weren't an outbreak Pokemon and instead was found here. The bug contest also only includes Gen 1 bugs, which reflects the Johto issue of not using many of the new Generation 2 Pokemon. Post-National Pokedex, the selection of bugs expands to include the Wurmple line, Nincada, Volbeat, Illumise, the Kricketot line, and Combee. Some of these encounters fluctuate between Thursday and Saturday, with Tuesday being reserved for the original Gen 1 encounter table. This means you have to time your playthroughs throughout the week in order to get your encounters. Some may have an issue with this because of the time-based nature of it, but I think it's kind of fun. For me, the highlight of catching these Pokemon is that they all come in special Pokeballs exclusive to this mechanic, the Sport Ball. But it's not just bug catching, it's a bug catching contest. The prize is not only the Pokemon itself, but you can also get special items. For getting the National Pokedex, the first place prize is a Sunstone. And after getting the National Pokedex, you get a random evolution stone. I think the Sunstone is a great choice for the prize of the contest because now there are 2 more Pokemon you can unlock from the bug catching contest. Sunflora and Blossom both evolve using the Sunstone, so if you want either of those Pokemon, you're gonna need to play the bug catching contest. Sunkern can even be caught in the National Park when the bug catching contest is not taking place. The second place item is an Everstone. Meh. This is definitely the most worthless of these prizes. You can press B to stop your Pokemon from evolving, so why would anyone ever need an Everstone? And why lock it away as a second place prize in a time-based event? The third place item, being a Citrus Berry, is actually better than the second place item. as it can even be used to duplicate itself with the berry pots. You certainly won't be farming 50 citrus berries immediately. It'll take a long time, and with the berry pots in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you don't get the exponential berry growth that you would get in a game like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl or Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire that have berry spots everywhere. The citrus berry is still a valuable item in most story-based battles, and if you're playing the game at a slowish pace, then you'll probably be growing enough to make use of it. You also get an item even if you lose. The consolation prize is the Shed Shell, which is an item that allows you to switch out even if you are trapped by a trapping move or ability. I can't think of too many situations where it's super necessary, but sometimes I just slapped it on something that didn't have any other item. I'd say its best use is on steel types, in case you want to switch out from a Magnet Pull Magnemite. Interestingly enough, Scizor is a great candidate to hold this item, being that it is one of the few steel types to even exist in the game, and it wouldn't be a very good matchup against a Magnemite. If you're fighting a scientist and using Scizor and they send out Magnemite, you could switch Scizor into your ground or fire type without getting magnet pulled. Is it a niche use? Sure. But isn't it kind of cool that a consolation prize even has some kind of interaction with the game? What I think is odd is that you get this prize every single time you lose. When I tried to get all the bug catching contest Pokemon and wasn't prioritizing winning, I had like 8 of these. 1 is enough. I think the consolation prize should be an Oranberry after you get the first Shed Shell. While I like the prizes well enough, I think there are some improvements that could be made. The stone first place prizes are alright, but there could be more to it. First off, let the player choose the stone post-National Pokedex. It is extremely frustrating for the stone to be random, especially when it gives you the extremely niche use Oval Stone. Yeah, for some reason Oval Stone is one of the stones given out. If you don't know what the Oval Stone is, it's used to evolve Happiny into Chansey, even though Happiny evolves by holding the stone and leveling up, unlike all of the other stones that are just used on the Pokemon you want to evolve. And on top of that, Happiny can't actually be encountered in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, except through a special event Pokewalker course that could only be obtained at certain train stations in Japan back in the year 2010. So yeah, I don't think the Oval Stone should be a prize. The Sunstone also shouldn't be the only prize pre-National Dex. You should be able to choose an evolutionary item before and after the National Dex, and the selection should just expand post-National Dex. If you win the bug catching contest 3 times before getting the National Dex, you now have more Sunstones than there are Pokemon that need it to evolve. Any stone or evolution item that is relevant to pre-National Dex Pokemon should be an option. Something like the Metal Coat, which evolves Scyther, comes to mind. You can actually get the Metal Coat at the same time because it's a Pokeathlon prize, so the developers were okay with you having a Scizor at this point in the game. As for the second place prize, well, Everstones are stupid. The prize should be 5 net balls. They work better on bug and water Pokemon. This makes them the perfect prize because they are related to bug Pokemon, but don't only need to be used on bug Pokemon. Also, when you get first place, you should receive the second, third, and consolation prize as well. A player should not be trying to get third place in order to get a citrus berry that they need for their team building. There really isn't a way to control which place you get in because, well, getting a certain score in the bug catching contest is complicated. How does the scoring work? What does it mean for your bug to be the best? The scoring of the bug catching contest works as follows. It calculates the Pokemon's level, its IVs, its maximum HP, its rarity. There's 2 issues I take with this. First is IVs. You can't know IVs, so this leaves it up to chance. I don't like when things are purely left up to luck in games. However, the IVs applying just adds a little bit of luck, but doesn't make it entirely luck-based. My biggest issue is that maximum HP counts towards winning. This basically disincentivizes the player from fighting the wild Pokemon and weakening it, which is like the main thing you do to catch a Pokemon. Most of the time, if I want to actually win the contest, I just bring in a defensive Pokemon and chuck balls at full HP, but you only have 20, and if you lose all 20, you're out. You can put it to sleep or paralyze it without affecting your score. So, winning the contest is basically luck. You can catch a Scyther and lose to Metapod. It'll just happen sometimes. The enjoyment of this mechanic is based on catching new Pokemon, and the contest element is secondary. How could we improve the contest element of the bug catching contest? Well, first off, I would remove the max HP and IVs from the factor of scoring, and now that I've done that, I can see where the developers were coming from when they made these creative choices. If the only factors are strength and rarity, now there's too little to the contest. Now Scyther always wins. That's boring too. So what else could factor into the contest? What other things could we do? How about moves? Maybe the bug catching contest Pokemon get special moves. They could get moves they usually don't know at this level, or egg moves, or move tutor moves. Let's just say you find a Kakuna and it's just hardening away. That's worth less points than a Kakuna who uses maybe the attack Poison Powder. And now that you know that Kakuna has Poison Powder, you know it's worth more. But uh-oh, your only Pokemon is poisoned. Better catch Kakuna quick and up your score. This would require the player to strategize the Pokemon they bring to figure out what moves the Pokemon has in order to win. Now comes my greatest critique of the bug catching contest. This mechanic commits the worst sin a game mechanic can: wasted potential. Why is this the only instance of anything like this? Why is it that no other Pokemon game ever did anything close? It's really unfortunate. I think there should have been other catching contests that involve different types of Pokemon. There's really so many opportunities to have something like that. Here are some ideas for different catching contests. The fishing contest would take place at the Lake of Rage. It would include Pokemon like Magikarp, Goldeen, Poliwag, Remoraid, and Slowpoke, with the rare encounters being Quillfish and Corsola. Post-National Dex, it could include Carvanha, Corphish, Barboach, Weasel, Shellos, with different forms on different days, and maybe Feebas, depending on how hard it should be to get Feebas. The beast catching contest would be located at Moo Moo Farms. This one could be kind of like a petting zoo where you catch different animals. The encounters could be the Rattata line, Doduo line, Sentret line, Teddiursa line, Stantler, Girafarig, with rare encounters Tauros and Miltank. Post-game, we could add the Zigzagoon line, Slackoth and Vigoroth, Skitty line, Spinda, and Buniri. The Spelunking contest would be located at Mount Moon, and it would revolve around using Rock Smash. So, it would require the player to bring a Pokemon that knows Rock Smash, which would limit your movesets. It would include all the first stage fossil Pokemon as encounters, with the fossil Pokemon alternating depending on which day the contest is held on. Other Pokemon include the Geodude line, Onix, and Aron. Rare encounters could include Lunatone, Solrock, Shuckle, Larvitar, and Aerodactyl. Power Plant contest would require expanding the area around the power plant with this little enclosure where electric Pokemon roam free. The Pokemon selection would be Pichu and Pikachu, Magnemite line, Voltorb line, Mareep and Flaffy, Pachirisu, Plusle, Minun, Shinx, and Luxio, and the rare encounters would be Rotom and its different forms. So what did you think of my analysis? What was your experience with the bug catching contest? Did you always play it, or did you ignore it? Did you ever struggle to win? Did you come up with some other ways to improve this mechanic? Do you have any ideas for your own sort of catching contest? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like what I do and want to see me do more of it, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps with the algorithm recommending my videos. Also, make sure to check out Game Cubicle Live, where I post edited highlights of my live streams. And if you're feeling particularly moved by what I've crafted for you today, consider subscribing to my Patreon for as low as $1 a month. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.